Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm sharing with you my recipe of pickled little cucumbers. I do apologize if you do hear noise. We have a lot of rain happening outside right now. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, if you follow the channel, you know guys that I'm growing a lot of stuff in my greenhouse and in my garden, and hey presto, finally the little cucumbers have arrived. I have opted out to grow some of the F1, the hybrid options, and some of the normal heritage varieties. Hybrid varieties produce a better yield without sort of worrying about too much of the outside circumstances. So they did really, really well. So I've collected them over the past couple of days. They have been in the fridge. And now I have enough to be able to share this video with you. I am doing a hot water bath canning method. It is very, very straightforward, but it consists of obviously a few steps that we need to do. So I have in front of me approximately 2 kilos. They're divided in 2 pots, already been pre-washed, okay? The reason I've divided them in 2 because I'm going to do 2 varieties of gherkins. I'm going to pickle some as a whole because sometimes we just like to have them as a whole, and then I'm going to slice some into little thin-ish pieces and have them for a burger. So without further ado guys, how we do this, okay? For the whole cucumbers, we are literally cutting out the top and the bottom, okay? Do this with all of your cucumbers. First of all, the stem could add on bitterness, and secondly, we do need to have an access for a brine and a salt to get into your cucumbers. So let's get those cut. So guys, the first lot's done. So we have tailed and topped the cucumbers. Okay, let me get rid of that. So now as to the second batch, we're going to do the same. We're going to take the top and bottom off. And the hardest part now guys is I'm going to cut those cucumbers into little strips. And because they are tiny, it is a little bit of a job, but make sure your knife is super sharp, okay? You can use mandolin, but again, it'd be too finicky and the cucumbers will become too thin, and we don't want that. I want to be able to have a nice chunk of a cucumber. So here we are. So we're looking into pieces like this, okay? So when they pickle, obviously they'll be a little bit softer, a bit more pliable, and they will be perfect for my burgers. So I shall proceed with the rest. Last one to go. Last but not least. Here we are. Okay guys, so this is what we have. Nice bowl of cut cucumbers. Because some of the cucumbers are a little bit wonky, okay, I've kept a couple of odd little bumps here, which I didn't include in there because I think that'll be awkward to kind of put in your burger bun. However, because I have chickens, all these little cut-offs, they're not going to go to waste. The chicken's going to absolutely love them because they do enjoy cucumbers quite a lot. So, next thing we're going to do, guys, if I just get this aside, I've got my Anna vegetable murder board. Okay, all we're going to do now, guys, and this is actually I'm probably going to do is, I've got some salt, so we are going to cover those cucumbers in salt and put them in the fridge for anything from 3 hours minimum up to pretty much 24 hours for the next day. The reason is, guys, we want to draw as much moisture as possible from the cucumbers, so they are much more crispier after we process them and pickle them. I believe the process called osmosis is basically salt actually drawing out the moisture from them. Don't be worried, okay? Obviously pickles contain salt anyway. However, we are going to cover them in salt and obviously let the process do its job. However, you can always rinse them off if you really feel that you have done or have put about too much salt. So I have opened into this salt my £1.75 it was, I think it's £1.95 now. Anyway, I'm gonna pour some salt in, And it is, guys, it's kind of depending on how much of cucumbers you have, guys. I normally just do this on the eye. You just got to make sure you just make sure they're covered in salt, okay? After literally probably half an hour to an hour, you'll start seeing cucumber juice appearing at the bottom, so you know you have enough salt and you know it's working, okay? It's a little bit harder with the little ones, okay, because we have, not little ones, with the whole ones, because we have less of a contact space, okay, with the naked flesh of a cucumber. You can score the cucumber with a fork, so you can basically scrape the skin of the cucumber, exposing the inside so the salt can penetrate better. I don't like doing this because I don't think it looks attractive in the jar. I know it sounds weird, however, don't forget we eat with our eyes, and I like things to be looking nice and yummy. So next thing we're going to do, we're just going to make sure we mix it all together. The trouble is as well, guys, I don't know how many jars we're going to get from that, but it's kind of, we'll see what happens. If, for example, we have some left over and they don't fit in the jars, then we'll just put them in the fridge and then we're just going to eat them. Because you can actually, what they call a rapid cure or rapid pickle, you just brine your cucumbers in the salt, you leave them in the fridge for 3 to 4 days, and they are what they call lightly pickled, okay? Don't forget, salt is preservative, so once they sit in the fridge, they won't spoil. Okay, many people prefer them this way. Okay, so I can start feeling the moisture coming out of those guys. Okay, so that's one done, and let's mix that one. Make sure we get the salt in there. Sufficient. It's something about, if you like gherkins and pickles, picking up a whole one, picking up one as a whole, not little squares, little triangles, whatever it is, just picking up one gherkin and eating it. Okay, right. And also, guys, the reason whether, just to mention this, the reason we're using, you can use, of course, any kind of gherkins, cucumbers you like. However, the little kind, and I'm trying to remember, see if I can find this, the seed packet. The ones that I designed for a pickling, they don't have a lot of the pulp inside, if you know what I mean. Some, like big, tall, long cucumbers you buy, they've got a lot of that sort of watery pulp with the seeds. The mini ones are really, really tough on the inside, which makes them absolutely perfect to do in our pickles. Right, okay, so they're all wrapped in together. So you can see instantly with those guys, you can see instant moisture draw. It wouldn't be as much with those, but I want them like this. I want them whole. Okay, so all I'm gonna do now, guys, I'm gonna do this off camera. I have two containers. Okay, I'm gonna transfer the cucumbers in here and I'm gonna leave them in the fridge overnight, and I will see you tomorrow. So here we are. Our lovely cucumber's been sitting in the fridge all night, and hopefully, guys, you can see this. Hopefully you can. There is a lot of liquid came out of them, which is exactly what we are expecting. Even, guys, on the big ones, the whole cucumbers, there is still a lot of liquid out. So you hopefully get to see that. So this was exactly as we intended. Yes, of course, they're gone a little bit softer because they have had moisture, the water content taken out. However, they are still crunchy, and so is those little guys. So we're doing a hot water bathing method, and I'm doing things slightly different to kind of fit my needs. Normally, I would do, which we'll do in a minute, we'll do a brine. And if you choose not to hot water bath, you can do hot jars and hot brine, turn the jars upside down, that's fine. For today's purpose of the video, we are doing a cold pack method, and then we're putting in the jars into the slightly warmish water, and there will be water bath in it for about 15 minutes. So my proportions of the pickles I do, okay, it's going to be 2 liters of vinegar per 1 liter of water. It is sometimes very difficult to sort of eyeball how many jars you need, but obviously prepare more jars than you more jars than you think you'll need. I've got about 6 half-a-litre jars. I'm currently warming up and disinfecting. Well, they have disinfected, they're just keeping themselves fairly warm. So I think that should be enough. So according to rough calculations, I'll need 3 litres of brine. Of course, there will be a lot left over, but we'll use that for somewhere else. So first things first, guys, we're gonna pour 2 litres of vinegar. I'm using a normal white vinegar. This one is a 5%. I buy mine at Amazon in 5 litre. They're still actually a very good price considering everything else gone up in price quite a lot. So, sorry. Yeah, it's spillage. Because it's full and it's new. You can see, guys, sorry, so that'll be a litre. You can see behind me, I've left the camera specifically so you can see what's going on. Unfortunately, the layout of the kitchen and being so, the hob being so far away from me, I will try to move things here for you to show you, but you get an idea and hopefully, hopefully they'll work for you, okay? Nothing is really rocket science, but let's do it this way, shall we? Here, a little bit less splatteries. Now we're gonna pour 1 cup, let me just get this in. 1 litre of water, okay, I'm using the normal mineral water. I prefer not to use the tap water for any pickles or brewery because the tap water is disgusting. I know you boil it anyway, but prefer not to anyway. Personal choice, guys, personal choice. Okay, so 1 litre of water going in. There we go. I am going to now put the hob on. And idea is, guys, I'm doing the warm brine because obviously we need to infuse the brine with our pickling spices, obviously dissolve the sugar and salt. So this is why I'm warming this one up. Okay, so let's get that in. So we have 6 half-a-litre jars. I'm using my own pickling spices, which have the black mustard seed, white mustard seed, bay leaf, salt, pepper, chilies, peppercorns, sorry, a little bit of chili. I do have, and I have done the video, shorts video, so I might put the link up down below. But this is what I use for my pickles. So generally I will need 1 tablespoon per jar. So I'm going to add 6 tablespoons. Okay, that should do. It might sound like a lot, but trust me, it is not. I like to have my pickles quite infused with the spices. Don't forget, we're not adding on too much salt because the pickles have been salted overnight. And the little ones are already quite salted. So if you're not liking too much salt, give it a taste and you can rinse it off. Okay, obviously it has penetrated through, so they have pickled inside, but if you just feel it's too much salt, then obviously just rinse them off a little bit. The same as with the big ones, although they won't be as salty on the inside. If you find it's too much salty still after rinsing, totally omit the salt from my recipe of the brine. So, okay, that's warming up, so let's add on sugar. Got my spoon in here. With the sugar, it's pretty much similar proportions, guys, but I would say we'll start with 3 tablespoons, 3 or 4, and then we give it a taste. And again, see what you think. Don't forget, when I'm going to put a 4. When you pickle stuff, hot brine will taste different after it's cooled down. So after you pickled your cucumbers, okay, it will change. So if you ever, guys, like tasted ice cream, for example, when the ice cream's cold, it doesn't taste so sweet. It's sweet, but it's not so sweet. But if you let it melt and then you try it, you quite often find there's actually quite more sugar than you expect. So let's try that. I'm gonna put a little bit more sugar in there, guys. I should have got my initial instinct, like should be the same proportion, so 1 sugar per jar. So let's add another couple. And actually another one more. Okay, let's go again. So while my jars, like I said, guys, the jars are behind. They've already been boiled. They're just sitting there in warm water. This is gonna be after we boiled it. We're gonna cool it down to bring it to similar temperature of the water inside. Otherwise, if it's too much difference in either direction of difference of the jar content and the water, the jars might crack. So we don't want that. Let's try again. That's better. I love pickles. Again, guys, proportion of vinegar. If you don't like so much vinegar, then change it. Change the proportion. Put exactly what you want, what you like. But it takes really the experience and the time of doing this and understanding how things pan out. As I said, that once you taste the brine, once you're cooking it, it will be slightly different after it's sat there for a little bit and, of course, cool down. So just take time. It's practice. Practice, guys. It's not scary at all. So sugar and salt has dissolved. All I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to let that sit there and cool down. So I'm going to take the hob away. I do apologize, guys, for not having the big one on here because I think it's a little bit too big. Controls, I literally attach controls on the top, so that wouldn't really quite fit in there. Luckily enough, that actually is working on induction. I'm super, super pleased. That means if it's pouring down outside, I can do my preserves anyway. So let me get this cleared out. We'll wait for that to cool down slightly, and I shall see you in a minute. So, next step, guys, this is still sitting here. As you can see, I've tidied it up, and it's like a massive operation trying to prepare stuff, trying to make sure you get everything ready, because obviously we don't want to have anything that's sort of happening whilst we're trying to do this. We're trying to make it go as smooth as possible. So I have my lids washed, disinfected. I have my lid tops ready. I've got the ladle. I have some garlic pieces to go in the bottom. Yes, my recipe already has the dried garlic in there, but I still like to put a clove of garlic at the bottom because it just looks pretty as well. We'll have a little filling funnel, whatever you call it. I have my jar lifter and I have a bit of tissue. I think we're ready. So let me get the jars out and we'll pack you with some cucumbers. So here we go, guys. We have 6 jars ready. Let's get them in. So garlic clove. Let's get 1 in each. And I got 1 spare. Maybe I thought in case I have a spare jar, so we'll get that. So let's go with the big pickles first, right? And we're trying to stand them up. They're actually perfect height for that. Let's see how many we get. It's normally like a juggling thing, trying to play Tetris to make sure. But here we go. We want them to be tight, but at the same time, we want to make sure there's kind of room in between. Okay, so that's 1. Trying to make sure obviously your hands are clean because we are kind of somehow touching the room with that anyway, but make sure everything's clean. Okay, I think, I'll take this one out and I think we should be able just to get 3 like planned. Okay, I've got some room in that one. I might chuck a tomato in there or something. So let's go with those guys now. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly drain the water out, which I should have done earlier, so I do apologize. I'm not rinsing my ones because I'm happy with my salt content, okay? So I'm just going to go and get this in. This is not particularly easiest task to do considering they're like flopping. Blum, 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 blum. But let's get them in. Just get them in. We can only do the best we can do. So, right guys, so what we have is I slightly overestimated the amount of jars, but that's fine, at least they were ready. So we have 2 jars of sliced cucumbers. We have 2 full ones of the whole pickle ones, and we have a spare one here which has got a little bit of space. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add on a couple of little cherry tomatoes. So guys, yes, it's quite used to be a common practice for my grandma, because we always sometimes, unless you've been doing this for years, although I have been doing this for years, you still sometimes overestimate or underestimate the jars. It was common practice in my days when I see grandma do this. If there's a space in a jar, you chuck anything else to make the space up. In my instance, I'm using the cherry tomatoes. You can do onion, you can do garlic. It's whatever else you feel you want to chuck in there, so make sure they're okay. So a couple of cherry tomatoes there. That will do me fine. I might even put the third one. See if that, yeah, 3 cherry tomatoes and filled in the gap. So this is what we have. So hopefully you get to see that. Okay. So what I'm doing now, I'm sorry guys, there's too many things anyway. Right, so we're now going to use a fennel, colander, not colander, you know what I mean. Anyway, been a long day. And we're now going to pour our brine in there, leaving approximately an inch headspace. So we're going to stir the mixture, because the garlic and everything else settles down to the bottom, but we want it in our jars. I'm going to have a lot of brine left, but that's fine. Happy days for me. Okay. Move on. Oh, yummy smell. Okay, it's basically, guys, to what I normally go by is the neck of the jar. This is really what I kind of normally go to, if that makes sense. So, because if you buy in the jars or reuse in the jars, for a hot water bath canning, you can reuse the, forgot that. You can reuse the jars from the shop. Okay, just I had no issues with them whatsoever, but that's what I'm using today. Okay. Right, that's good. Okay. Got the last one. Forget to put that in. That's the reason I put the towel underneath, to avoid the spillages. Okay, right, so next step, guys, is I've got the little pusher and the measurer. The whole idea, guys, we'll make sure there's no air bubbles. We don't want air bubbles in our pickles, so just make sure you move stuff around. Move it around. Make sure all the air is out. I do all of them and we top up if needed, but the air majority will be in the cut pickles more so. Yeah, we need some more in that in a minute, I think. You must do that, guys. You must do that, because too much air in there, your seal might not happen or may explode. I remember my grandma she had the tomatoes, the big jar of tomatoes, and something happened and this literally exploded on the shelf with everything else, and it's caked everything in the tomato thing. Okay, right. So I think, guys, we are okay, we need just a tiny bit to top them up. Just some of them anyway, just a teeny weeny bit. Okay, and I think, no, that one needed a bit. It's natural for the cucumbers sometimes and for other things if wanting to swim to the top, to float to the top. That's quite okay. Right, so they are done. So let me move this out of the way. Right, so here we go. This is what we have. We've got our 5 jars. They also, for whoever's wondering, if you read everywhere, the minimum, there's like a lot of maximum which you can put in the canners and stuff, but there is no minimum such. But as I kind of understood from Bowl, it's 4 of the half a litre ones or 2 of the litre ones. When you water bath canning, I don't really envisage that to be an issue if you didn't, purely just if there's more room there, they'll judder a lot and they could sort of knock together. But I've done this with the 2 jars of the little one and it was absolutely fine, so there was no issue there. Right, now we're putting on lids. I've got the kit that I bought from Amazon, got one of those little magnets for the lids, which I thought a really super great idea. So let me just get them all in. So you kind of don't have to fiddle with it and pick it up. So I like that, it's good. There is a lid lifter from the kit as well, but we're going with that one. Right, so now we're going to put our lids on. Okay. Make sure that's in centrally. Match the silver to silver. And last one. There is no longer the need to pre-soak the lids in hot water because they're going to be covered in hot water. That's what it is. So make sure we are finger tight, this is what I call it. It's difficult, I was worried to underdo it because then the water will enter and have a problem, but we need the pressure to escape to some extent, so. Okay. Right, so now I'm gonna put them in a canner and we're gonna process them for 15 minutes. Let me get them in. Last one. So all I'm gonna do now, guys, is to top the up with the water so the water is inch above the jars. And I have my jar ready here. Should be just about perfect amount. Here we are. I'm now going to put this on and literally, guys, we are going to process those jars for 15 minutes because technically, because it's a pickle, they've got high vinegar content, we really don't need to worry about botulism because the botulism doesn't live in the high acid environment. And as I said to you that I've done the pickles before just using hot brine, and so long as the jar is sealed, we don't have any issues at all. However, yes, I'm using a hot water bath canning just for this, not experiment, for this video alone. So we're going to process them for 15 minutes. We are slightly elevated, so we are, if we were to do the pressure canning, we'll increase this by like one pressure point in here. 15 minutes is been already counted in, so technically it would have been 13 minutes. So I'm doing this for 15 minutes. Again, it's kind of not particularly, guys, a science, but it is what it is anyway. So I shall see you guys in, well, longer than 15 minutes because they need to start boiling first. So after that starts boiling, then I will time that. So I will see you in a few minutes. So guys, now the jars have been processing for 15 minutes. I have obviously closed the lid. Now the lid's open. They have been chilling there for a few minutes. All we're waiting for is for the water to sort of calm down a little bit. But after the research I've done, guys, it's not advisable that the things sit in the hot water bath for any longer than necessary. So it is time. I've got the towel here. I've got the wooden board in between. So let's get those guys out. We'll get to be very, very careful, okay? And the idea is, guys, we don't tilt them because the lid at the moment is still need to kind of seal. So the idea is we're going to just let them sit here for a little while before disturbing them. and 5. So guys, there you have it. Okay, the idea is we do not want to put them in a drafty place, because again, the sudden temperature change could crack the jars and affect the lids. At the same time, we don't want to put them too close together, because that means they can stay too hot for too long together, and that's a different issue. So generally, I'm going to just leave them here, space them out as much as I can. And that's that. We're going to leave them. You can see at the moment, the idea, obviously, how you know that they're sealed, guys, because those lids have a little popper thing. So, you know, you can depress them, press them, depress them when they're not been sealed. As soon as they seal, you'll hear the click, and obviously the little button will go in, and you know that it is sealed. But obviously the best to be on the safe side and check it anyway. But you guys will know, you know if the jar is sealed or not anyway. So this is literally as simple as that. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to leave them here to chill until they're totally cool. It's probably going to end up being about 12. I'm going to leave them here overnight, guys. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to leave them here overnight, make sure that they obviously all sealed, and then put them into storage. So anyway, this, guys, literally as simple as that. So I do hope you have really enjoyed the recipe. If you do have any questions, please down comment below. Please thumbs up the video if you do enjoy the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I shall see you guys on the next video. Bye bye.